Give this boy a beer, my dear.
Aye, yes, sir.
I like her, too.
Hey. Rein it in, Mr. Loverman.
Afternoon.
You finally reach.
Yeah, sorry, I should have turned up a day early like you did.
Got you there, Sarge.
So, who we waiting for?
Edie and Joe.
Oh, I should have guessed. Hello.
Hi, Ed. Right, well, let's sit down and nibble on something at least, eh? I'm that hungry, I could eat the legs off a low-flying pigeon.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
Hello and welcome to episode 282 of The Talk of the Street, an unofficial Coronation Street catch-up podcast that thinks it was poor form for the social worker to ruin the Winter Brown's fake Christmas Day and shows she could have waited until fake Boxing Day. I'm Gavin.
And I, for one, am appalled at the high price of hair dryers in Weatherfield.
Oh, how much is it?
300 quid!
Do you get a free TV with that hairdryer?
I don't know, you have to ask Tony.
Tony? Tony is the one who said his little girl wanted a hairdryer that cost 300 quid for her Christmas. Yes.
I hope it's...
Tony.
I hope it's...
Oh, how quickly I forget.
I hope it's lined in gold. I hope it comes with a massager, but not like that.
This little girl's expectations of her father, who is just out of prison,
Right.
seem a little bit unrealistic, don't you think?
Surely a hairdryer could be found on the streets of Weatherfield for, say, 15 to 20 quid.
Well, let me just see how much a hairdryer costs from Argos. Oh God, 329 quid
That's not true.
for a Dyson. You can get a Conair for $11.75.
Right, thank you. And who needs a Dyson hairdryer?
Dyson stuff is pretty good.
Until it's not.
Until it breaks, yeah.
Until it's not. Because we still have this dead Dyson, we never clog vacuum cleaner sitting in the middle of our living room, which you promised me last weekend you were going to chuck in the bin.
Oh, well.
Dyson sucks.
But
Until
not
it
like
doesn't.
That, but not like that.
I do like the hand dryers, though. Supposedly...
What I don't like about the hand dryers is that they're so powerful, it makes my old elderly man's skin ripple down to my fingertips. It's like they need ironed or something like that.
Yeah. Things don't have to be fancy schmancy high tech to work. The best things in the world work without the fancy schmanciness.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like our Roomba.
The Roomba's good.
The Roomba is good.
Anyway,
And
enough of
he's
this.
friendly.
It's a he, apparently. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm tired. I feel overwhelmed. Things are crazy. Nothing seems to stop. I'm pulling my hair out. The cat has a cyst. My mom had yet another heart ablation. But I'm fine.
Keeping it light.
It's been it's already the holiday season has already started, and I already feel like it's going to be a high anxiety holiday season this year.
It's December already.
Yeah.
We've made our arrangements for the Christmas break, and we will be Connecticut bound just before Christmas, and we will be back just after. So I reckon we'll probably do a 2 episode of the show, and then do the Christmas and New Year together, which we've done before in the past.
Right.
So it looks like it'll be one of them again.
Not one of them again.
Which is fine. Which is fine.
It's fine. We
I
deserve
do
a break.
long, though. I long. Remember that time we recorded on Christmas Day?
And the maid at the hotel interrupted us?
No, we recorded here.
Oh. On Christmas Day?
On Christmas Day.
Oh, during lockdown. Yes, you crave lockdown again. Is that what you're saying?
I actually do crave lockdown. I've never been richer. Remember when my car had a flat tyre in the garage for 3 months and it didn't matter because it wasn't going anywhere?
Right.
Oh, so good. I sang Jingle Bell Rock.
Did you?
You don't remember this?
No.
I bet the listeners do.
Yeah. Yeah. Whereas this year we're paying for a roof to not get fixed anytime soon.
This will be the 4th time I've chased that guy up.
Yeah, but he said this week, and it's the end of the week.
I guess it was snowing.
One of these days it's going to really snow, and it's going to collapse the whole garage roof, and what is he going to do then?
Well, then we call our insurance company. Anyway, this is...
Fascinating stuff.
This is conversation for an argument, not for a podcast. So, shall we preamble?
You're just too nice to people.
I was fairly cheeky to him
The last time.
in a passive-aggressive way because I don't want to be too cheeky to him because he's fixing a roof. Well, he's supposed to be fixing the roof.
Right. No, you've
I
already...
don't want him to do a shit job of it, but he's got half the money. Anyway.
Right. He's already got half the money. We need to call Ed.
Or Tony. We'll pay Tony.
We will pay you, Tony. We promise. Only it'll be in dollars, not in pounds. And I don't know how that works.
You don't know how that works? How exchange rates work?
It was called a joke.
Well, very nearly. Shall we preamble, my dear?
Yes, please.
Give us some of that I'm in trouble now, Corrie news.
While Gav very nearly made an Ofcom complaint about the zombie knife last week, 136 other people
Oh, they did?
did
Good.
make an Ofcom complaint about it. And so Gav doesn't have to.
It was too much. I thought
Yeah.
it was too much. That's not why I watch Coronation Street.
Yeah. Well,
Sometimes I wonder exactly why I do watch Coronation Street.
this whole bullying story is not why we watch Coronation
If
Street.
it's not for that, and it's not for zombie knives.
He's no Roy, but Maureen Littman appears to have found some arm candy to tide her over, stepping out publicly for the first time with new beau David Turner at the Oldie of the Year Awards. Oldie of the Year Awards. Apparently he's a sports business analyst, and I don't know what that means. But they seem quite happy. So good for her.
Did she win the Oldie of the Year award?
No idea.
I remember Rear of the Year.
Oldie of the Year award. Who thought that was a good idea?
I remember Rear of the Year award, where people, mostly women, won a prize for having the best bottom.
You would win that prize.
And I think Jane Danson got either nominated or won it one year when she was exceedingly young.
Yeah. Yeah,
Kind of yikes.
that's gross, man. That's gross. But like I
So
said,
we've
you would win.
replaced Rear of the Year with Oldie of the Year.
See, they
Switch.
stopped Rear of the Year because you would win every year.
It's a good bit of Scottish beef this back
It
there. I've
is.
said that before and regretted it.
Just want to get a mouthful. Anyway, and finally, Corrie legend Vicky Entwistle popped up in Bolton with fairy wings on this week, playing Fairy Superior in Cinderella. I don't recall Fairy Superior in Cinderella.
Fairy Superior?
Fairy Superior. So apparently the superior fairy, which I guess would be the fairy godmother, who is the only fairy in Cinderella. At least the one I read.
Is Godmother not politically correct anymore?
Why wouldn't it be?
See, since I turned 50, it's become so hard to keep up.
Yeah, you've become Grandpa Simpson shouting at clouds.
Where's that cloud? I have a fist to shake.
Anyway, Becky Entwistle is playing it, and we wish the former Janice Battersby many broken legs
Absolutely.
this panto season. And that is Corrie News.
And that leads us seamlessly, as ever, into our feedback section that we call Everyone's a Critic.
I keep forgetting that it's the Christmas on Mars music now. I'm surprised every time.
I don't know why you're ruining this for me. Because
Because it sounds like Christmas on Mars. I like it. It's just that I keep
where
forgetting
does the
that it
Christmas
exists.
bit come from?
'Cause it's like dee 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 dee. You know, it sounds like Christmas music.
It sounds like hot chocolates. Everyone's a winner, baby. That's what it sounds like. Because that's what I copied. Don't.
Did not.
I deny everything.
Christmas on Mars.
Cheeky wrote in to say, we need to talk about Sean. As much as I appreciate that he has blindness for the fact that he wasn't in contact with his own son, he also knows that Mason is absolutely categorically awful and chooses to just ignore the fact rather than figuring out that they're both being bullied at the same time. The writers of Coronation Street are off their heads. Agree completely.
Yes. Yes, they had a character this week say that a hairdryer cost $300. So something is wrong in that writer's room.
But at least someone noticed this week. I mean, the signs have been obvious for a while, but at least someone noticed that
Yes.
that poor laddie's getting bullied. So
Yes.
now that's not Sean,
No.
and it's not really Gary, although Gary has his suspicions.
Yeah,
but
Gary
at
has
least
his
someone
suspicions
has
too.
spotted.
Yes. And the way things go viral on the street,
Right.
there's no way that video isn't going to get seen by adults here soon. And also, well, we'll talk about that later.
Sure. And then Noel wrote in to say, well, it's been a hell of a week on the street. Cash goes missing. Expensive watches are given. Lauren and Sabrina are now besties. Children poisoned and child services lurk in hallways. George is the best. Mason is still the worst. It goes on and on. Noel the secret American, secret Santa, secret agent man, secret service, secret squirrel. Later scares. Do you know what? I think he has us in the palm of his hand.
Wait. His name is Noel. Are we corresponding with Father Christmas?
That would be Noel.
No, Noel would be Mrs. Claus.
Well, what's Billy Joel then?
That's a J, not an N. It's different.
Feedback is always welcome. Send us your thoughts and I will probably read them out, as I think I've just proved. Get us at thetalkofthestreet@gmail.com, or our DMs are open at Corrie Podcast. And now we'll podcast for coffee. Or it's our Hanukkah on Uranus music.
I'm going to put something on Uranus here pretty soon.
Why do you think I'm sitting on the cushion? We have a new friend of the podcast. Welcome
Very nice.
aboard, Canadian Helen.
What? So we have French Helen and Canadian Helen.
Our collection begins. Because it's not a collection when there's just one.
No.
The collection starts when you have two.
Well, I guess technically we have three because I am American Helen.
Yeah, but you're not subscribing to this. You're not a friend of the podcast.
No, I'm just on the podcast.
So thank
That
you very
makes-
much, Canadian Helen.
Yes,
and then we
thank
have
you.
another friend of the podcast this week.
We had two new friends.
Welcome aboard, Christy P.
What? That's somebody else I missed now that I'm not on Twitter.
Yeah.
I love Christy and her librarian antics in Canada.
There you go.
Aw.
Thank you to you both. Now, we kind of... Do we joke about this? I think we do joke about this, but I just want to say every time I get notification that we've got a friend of the podcast or someone has bought our coffees this week, it's just such an incredible moment of the week when somebody has been kind enough to do that.
Yeah.
So we very, very much value this.
Absolutely. Positive reinforcement wherever we can get it.
I don't want to make it sound like we're being blasé about this, because this is really, really incredible stuff. We're just
Absolutely.
two assholes talking about Coronation Street.
Speak for yourself.
Okay, one asshole and whatever you are talking about Coronation Street. So for people to give up their hard-earned on a monthly basis or a one-off basis is quite incredible.
Yeah,
So
it's lovely.
Thank you so much.
You're keeping us in cherry Coke Zeros and cranberry juice.
Absolutely. The Talk of the Street is and will always be free on your podcast provider and on the YouTubes. But if you think our show is worth anything more than the time it takes to listen to it, and if you want to show your appreciation, you can buy us next week's coffee by going to ko-fi.com. That's ko-fi.com/the Talk of the Street. You can also sign up to be a friend of the podcast like Canadian Helen and Christy did through the same link, where for as little as $2 a month you can get a mention in the closing credits of each and every episode. And remember Helen, you can always support the podcast for free and get us in front of new listeners by liking, subscribing, rating and reviewing wherever you get your podcasts.
Yes.
And now, this.
Welcome.
Well, welcome to Last Year Tonight with me, John Oliver. Just enough time to quickly talk about shoulda, woulda, coulda.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda. fired Sean while we had the chance.
That's right, this was Nick and Sarah arguing about who was running the factory. Sarah could have helped Nick out, but shoulda, woulda, coulda, he said. I was Gavin and you did not like Hitler.
Still don't.
This was a Kanye reference or something?
Oh, was this back when I was still on Twitter and Kanye West was saying actually Hitler was good?
Something like that.
Simpler times, man. Simpler times.
Well, it was Christmas. Interestingly, you were working on World War II photographs, so it all comes back to Nazis. We may have been responsible for the death of Christine McVie.
That's right. Yeah, that came up in my Facebook notifications about the fact that we talked about Edge of 17 on List of Lists. The very next day, Christine McVie was dead.
And that wasn't the first time that happened. Well, it was the first time that Christine McVie died, but
Right,
it wasn't
yeah.
the first time that we'd mentioned
And it
someone
happened.
who died.
I'm just really happy that Henry Kissinger and Sandra Day O'Connor never had a hit single. I'm still angry though that there's no Pogues songs on the 500 greatest songs of all time Rolling Stone list.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of death.
Keeping it light.
Keeping it light.
We were running an episode behind thanks to the World Cup, I think, so this was all the preambling that we did. Nazis and Fleetwood Mac. Good combination.
Yes.
Nick receives an indecent proposal from Harvey as supposed recompense for the hurt caused to Sam. After being belittled by Carla, Sarah sees an opportunity to jump ship with an exciting new venture. Ken tries to make amends with Stephanie Beecham while Mary struggles to come to terms with his dreadful script. Aaron's dad enjoys a brief moment on the wagon just as Summer's life collapses in on itself a little bit more. Tyrone's favouritism towards Hope causes rifts in the other relationships in the house. Tim is distraught when Sally gives away his favourite jacket. Griff takes to more obvious threats towards Maria ahead of the community centre opening its refugee advice service. Stephen goes to great lengths to remain solvent while paying for Audrey and Sam's Norwegian cruise. Tim's mum quotes Lord Sugar. Steve's big toe needs a pumice stone. And Kev's had enough tea. Our moment of the week was Daisy and Todd hiding Lawrence from Sean. And our boring moment of the week was Stephanie Beecham's bone china. And that was Coronation Street and the talk of the street, this time last year.
Yes.
We'll take a quick break and we'll be right back with this week's recap. And we're back. It was a long one this
That
week.
was a long one. It's like, what's going on here? Have you frozen over there?
Shall we dive in, my dear?
Yes, please.
Okay, so our first storyline this week is our last storyline. So we'll jump in with our second storyline, which is, do you want to bet?
Do ya? Punk?
Make my day.
On the roulette wheel.
What?
I was bringing it back to gambling.
Oh, so you were. On Monday, Ed starts his day with texts from Tony. Tony's begging for the money that he's owed. Michael is saddened because Aggie won't be home for Christmas because of reasons. Ed is sure Christmas
Marcel.
will... Right?
Aunt Marcel.
Was it Aunt Marcel before?
No, it was like Auntie M or something.
Did
She
M stand
went-
for Marcel?
She went to Kansas. See, this bit of dialogue should have been in last week's episodes because Ed has already said last week that he's making Christmas dinner
He did.
and that Aggie wasn't going to be back for Christmas.
He said that also.
Yes. So it's very confusing. And I'm so frustrated because like there were all these articles this week about finally revealed where Aggie has been and it's not good news. And I was like, oh, finally we're going to find out why, like in real life, she hasn't been on the show for a long time. And no, it's just...
Where is Lorna Laidlaw? Exactly.
Yeah. Where is Lorna Laidlaw? This is kind of scary now.
But it didn't say anything to do
No.
with that. It just said, oh, she's at Auntie Marcel's. Or
Taking
whatever.
care of her, which we already
Which we
kind of
knew.
knew. Unless Auntie M really is in Kansas and a different auntie.
I think we kind of mentioned last week our concerns. Our concerns continue. And
Yes, they do.
I'd appreciate knowing just so I can stop worrying about it. Not
Exactly.
not for any other reason or being nosy or whatever, just so I can stop worrying about it. Ed is sure Christmas will still be a success, especially if he is cooking dinner and using Tony's money to pay for everything. There's a knock at the door, and it's Sarge, Ed's dad. He's a day early, and Ed's not happy about that.
No.
Sarge makes quite the entrance.
Yes, he does.
You can see where Ronnie gets his style from.
I guess.
And his arms.
No.
I have no idea.
Why is that man so much shorter than his sons?
That's how it
And
works, isn't it?
grandsons.
Look,
No.
I was taller than my mum and my dad.
I guess. I'm shorter than both my parents, so I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it skips a generation. Ronnie comes round later when he finds out that Sarge is in town. Sarge seems to be the kind of fellow who finds fault in everything, especially everything in Ed's house, and particularly anything personal involving Ed. He's happy to see Ronnie, though, and keen to get wired into the booze early doors, so Ed pops the kettle on. Sarge is disappointed that so many of the family are missing this family reunion because Dee Dee's out gallivanting, James is in that London, and
Right.
Aggie is, well, wherever Aggie is.
Wherever Auntie Marcel lives.
Ronnie decides...
I guess Paris?
You'd think so with the name, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Ronnie decides to book a table at the bistro for later to celebrate. And this is just the start of Ronnie deciding to do things that are expensive and roping Ed in
Right, yeah.
along.
And in fairness, he doesn't know that Ed is skint, so
Right.
it's fine.
Ed goes into town and gets himself a payday loan, which he then immediately throws on the horse. Meanwhile, Ronnie and Sarge turn up at the bistro, where Sarge meets Leanne and Debbie and gives them some prime Sarge chat. Michael dances into the bistro later to get fucking wired into the booze, and finally Ed turns up late and Sarge doesn't fail to notice. So lunch is starting, Sarge and Debbie are giving each other chat while Sarge reveals why he gets called Sarge. His name is Ernest.
He was
as
in the Navy.
Ernest Bilko, as in Sergeant Bilko, as in Sarge. I think Joel's already there, and Joel says, well, how'd you get Sarge if you're in the Navy? And
Right.
Michael's like, I've never thought of that before. Really,
Really?
Michael? Because that was the first thing I thought of as well.
Well, if somebody has been called something your whole life, you just kind of accept it, don't you? And one would assume he was being called Sarge well before Michael was born, because Sergeant Bilko is not exactly a modern reference.
I think I last saw Sergeant Bilko when I was in my teens, maybe. It's like in the 80s or 90s or something.
Right, it was like an old rerun,
Oh,
wasn't
sure,
it?
yeah.
Yeah.
They used to put it on BBC Two when there was nothing else to show before the channel closed down, so they'd like put it on for half an hour and then there'd just be nothing. Yep.
Remember Boop? Remember when TV would just shut down for the night?
Get the national anthem and then
Nothing.
they're basically telling you to fuck off to bed.
Right.
What I was really going to ask you was, I like the hoops that you have to jump through to get from Ernest to Sarge,
Right.
which reminds me of a guy that I used to know called Jakes, and his name was Gordon.
Right.
And I was like, how'd you get from
Jakes.
Gordon to Jakes?
Right.
Apparently when he was at school, he used to carry these binders about with him. Mm-hmm. And as he was getting probably bullied, somebody stole the binders and put them in the garbage.
Uh-huh.
So he had to dig through the garbage to get his binders back.
Right.
So they called him Rakabin, which turned to Jacobin, which turned to Jakes. So every time he was getting called Jakes, he was getting reminded of a bullying
being
incident.
bullied.
Mhm.
That's terrible.
He told it with a smile.
It sounds very British, though.
Right. Anyway. So, Ed is preoccupied with his phone while Dee Dee and Joel are there, and Debbie announces that sea bass is too fishy for her. Dee Dee wants to talk about the success of Ronnie's and Ed's development, but Sarge is dismissive, hoping that Ronnie is in charge of the books, and with that, he excuses himself from the table while he goes off for a shite. Dee Dee quietly explains to Joel and to us that Sarge thinks that Ed lost the old house not through gambling, but through bad financial decisions.
Uh-huh.
So later, Ed has nipped outside to catch the horse racing results, which looks like bad news when Ronnie catches him because it's time to settle the bill, and Ronnie has decided that he and Ed are picking it up. And a 15% tip that Ronnie unilaterally decides to pay. This passes for generosity, apparently.
Cheapskate. 15%. What is that?
Well, when you don't live in a tip culture country,
You don't know.
that's what you can get away with. Ronnie tells Ed to send him his half whenever he gets a minute, just as Tony, surely the most patient labourer ever to exist, gives Ed a call, which he dingies. Tony finally catches up with Ed, though, at the builder's yard, explains that he has bills to pay too. Tony finds Ed's betting slip on the ground and is shocked to see that Ed has gambled with the money Tony is owed.
And he needs to buy an expensive hairdryer.
Tony threatens to speak to Ronnie, so Ed has to admit that he has a gambling problem, and he begs Tony to keep stum, just as Ronnie appears wondering why Tony is there. Ed covers by saying that Tony was looking for more work, and Tony, bless his fucking heart here, does nothing to disabuse Ronnie of that. Ronnie falls for it, insisting that he and Ed go to play dominoes with Sarge. When Ronnie leaves, Tony proves that he has a bit of bite, as he warns Ed not to make him do anything he doesn't want him to do. There's got to be better ways to express it than that.
Yeah, he does also, during that conversation, really clench his fist really tight over that betting slip.
Right.
So, yeah, Tony's not happy.
And nor should he be.
Nor should he be. Ed is our roof guy. We've been overly patient with our roof guy. Tony has been overly patient with Ed.
Yep. I don't know why Tony is being as patient as he is. You
Because
said
nobody
because
else
no
will
one's
give
going
him
to
a
give him a
job.
job, but they're taking the piss now.
Yeah, they are.
Or Ed is.
Yes, he is.
But I wonder why it was Ed's responsibility. Was Tony just working for Ed? That was it, not working for...
Yeah, because it was work on
on Paul's
Paul's
house.
thing.
How's he owned 500 quid for that? All he did was put in a bar or something in the bathroom. Wasn't it? Oh no, it was a hoist. He put in a hoist.
Yes. Which is a bit more complicated.
A sex hoist?
Well, obviously not a sex hoist.
Every hoist is a sex hoist when you sex hoists. Back home, the Baileys and Debbie and Joel are playing dominoes. Sarge is still going on about Ed's failures and how his old house was massive. Joel leaves because he doesn't know how to play dominoes, and Sarge is still going on about it. Dee Dee loses a rag and explains that they lost the house because of Ed's gambling addiction, not his lack of business acumen. But Ed beat his addiction, and everyone is dead proud of him. So shut your fucking pie hole. And she storms off.
Well done, Dee Dee.
I know. Tempers have calmed later, and Dee Dee maintains that Ed is a success. Debbie wants more dominoes, as Sarge explains how one of his cousins died in a casino. Keeping it light.
Keeping it light.
Ronnie joins in singing Ed's praises. Sarge still sees it as a weakness, so Dee Dee has to get angry again. Ed can't take it and runs away. So in the community garden, Dee Dee finds Ed and apologises for telling his secrets. Ed thinks it's better out in the open anyway, which is just as well because Dee Dee doesn't regret it. She suggests that they go home, and Ed agrees. So when they get back, Sarge is asleep. Michael pays Ed for his part of the meal, and this wakes Sarge, who is down in the dumps because he used to brag about his family, and he seems to be shocked that James is gay. Ed has had enough again and decides to go to work.
Yeah, they let that slide a little too quickly, I felt. You know, when he's like, oh, and then there's that whole thing, ...
Which, remember, would have been something that Ed kind of agreed with.
Right, initially. Initially, Ed had a hard time with having a gay son, but then he got better.
Ed goes to see Tony and gives him Michael's 40 quid and promises him 600 quid, but he's going to need a couple of weeks. Tony doesn't want 600 quid in 2 weeks. He wants 500 quid now. He doesn't trust Ed anymore. Ed is apoplectic. No, Ed is apologetic, and Tony is such a nice guy, he probably falls for it. So Ed, finally,
It would have been funny if
does
Ed
the
was
right thing.
apoplectic.
I know. Well, I'll be cutting that out, obviously.
Oh, boo.
So Ed does the right thing for once and goes to a Gamblers Anonymous meeting that seems to be attended by Pat Phelan under the guise of someone called John. The
Interesting.
back of his head
Yeah.
looked very much like Phelan, and his accent was very much like Phelan. Ed is lovely as he introduces himself and talks about his demons and how he fears losing his family this time. He's never been so frightened. So if Tony's begging to get the money that he's owed
Right.
wasn't enough, Dee Dee backing him up,
Right.
saying everyone's so very proud of Ed,
him, man.
seems to have done the trick and
Yeah.
sent Ed to Gamblers Anonymous, where the lady that was running it seemed to recognise him.
Yes. Yeah. Like, you've been here before, and that's good.
Right.
It's good. You know what this story is really missing, though?
Aggie?
Yeah. Here's
Do you
this
think
really
Aggie should maybe be here for our husband's
Really?
time of need?
a hardcore storyline, and the matriarch isn't there. and yet they're still mocking the way she cooks. What's up with that?
There's so much of this that is, when somebody's unexpectedly out,
Yeah.
to get someone to stand in.
Right.
Like, I think maybe some of the time that Yasmin was away and they had Alia with Stu,
Yeah.
I kind of feel like maybe Dee Dee had some of Aggie's lines here.
Right.
I think Aggie was maybe the one who was going to be giving Sarge what for and backing her husband up. So, I don't know, maybe she's going to be playing that kind of role, but with all the things that have been going on
Yeah.
in the Bailey household, it just makes it so much more apparent that Aggie's not there because she should be.
Absolutely.
She should be, and she should be tired from working her job and then coming home and having to deal with all this shite.
Right.
And she should be giving Ed advice, and she should be giving Ronnie advice, and she should be putting up with Sarge maybe when she doesn't want to put up with Sarge.
Right.
And everything that's happening is just highlighting what an Aggie-shaped hole this story has in it.
Right. It's like the Fizz-shaped hole when Cassie showed up.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, maybe we should have waited on this storyline until the whole family was here.
Or maybe we should have moved Fizz further away than Norfolk.
Right, yeah.
Because she should be able to come back.
Right.
Even just for an episode or something.
Right.
And
Yeah.
how long does it take to train people to sew knickers? She's been gone for so long.
She's been gone for ages. It feels like she's been gone longer than a typical typical maternity leave.
I think she took an extended leave.
Yeah.
And good for her. But,
Yeah. Absolutely. But still. And it's frustrating because, as we've pointed out many times, there are so many characters in this show now.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like when members of certain families can't be in it for whatever reason for an extended period of time, you've got dozens of other characters who you could be giving a storyline to.
Right.
To fill in the gap where it doesn't feel weird.
But here we have core characters that are still missed despite the volume of other characters that they have.
Right.
Kind of shows how pivotal those characters are when even in these sort of days you still miss them.
Yes.
So on Wednesday, Sarge is making himself at home with Michael, waiting on him hand and foot. Ed isn't too impressed with his dad, who's eating all these pastries, and has heard from Ronnie that Sarge is expanding his business empire back home in the Caribbean. In Nina's roles, Ed is complaining about Sarge to Ronnie. Ronnie thinks it's all hilarious and ignores Ed's plea to put him up in the rape hotel, which is exactly where he should be staying. Ronnie, your girlfriend owns hotels, plural. Why is he having to stay at Ed's? Put him in the bloody hotel.
Because family. No, you haven't watched enough Fast and the Furious movies to know anything about family.
Fast and Furious movies.
Exactly, and that's the problem.
Problem? That's a problem I can live with then. At this, Michael and Sarge come in and Sarge immediately eats Ed's Eccles cake. That about does it for Ed. But then Sarge gives them both a sob story about the state of his food truck business back home. He's trying to expand, but it's left him a bit short, so he needs a loan from his sons. And Ed can't believe the fucking nerve of it. Sarge can't see the comparison, thinking that Ed chose to just chuck his money away on the GGs. He just needs a couple of grand to tide him over. Ronnie decides on behalf of him and Ed that they will go halvers on this. At the builder's yard, Ronnie's still keen to help, but Ed is less inclined. What's Sarge ever done for me? Ronnie asks if Ed can afford it, and rather than admit the truth, Ed agrees to stump up half of it after all. So later, Sarge is thrilled when Ronnie and Ed agree to give him the cash. Ronnie is transferring the cash now. Ed's going to pay him once he's fucked off home, which I actually really liked.
Yeah, me too.
Sarge is delighted and goes to make some coconut punch. Ronnie is suspicious, but Ed says he just wants his dad to sweat a bit. So Ed and Sarge get blootered on the coconut punch later. Sarge knows that Ed doesn't like him and that he makes Ed's head spin, but he loves being here. So Ed asks him to stay for Christmas, saying that the family will love him being there, but probably just to delay having to pay the old shitbag. So on Friday, at the builder's yard, Michael is worried that Sarge has disappeared. Ed couldn't care less but thinks he'd say if he was going to go home. And sure enough, he appears at the house later. He's been shopping for Christmas presents, presumably with Ronnie's money. And this angers Ed at Sarge for spending money while asking for a loan. Sarge insists that all of the presents are dirt cheap and he doesn't need Ed's permission to buy his family gifts. Ed apologises. Looks like Sarge's going to be hanging about for a while. This time with Ed's blessing, though.
Yeah.
And that's as far as we get with that this week.
Yeah.
Thoughts on Sarge?
He's not what I expected.
Did you expect jolly? I kind of expected jolly. He's
Well,
not jolly.
We knew that he was hypercritical of Ed, because Ed has complained about this before. I expected him to be larger and louder and
Larger
more
in stature or...
boisterous.
Oh, okay.
Just
Or a bigger presence?
Yeah, like physically larger, but also presence larger. Like he comes in and he just takes over and controls the house and controls the focus and is everybody's best friend sort of thing. You know, kind of like Ronnie. I expected him to be more like Ronnie.
He was kind of smooth with Debbie and
Not
kind of smooth
really.
with Leanne. Oh, they were kind of giggling and
Right,
Ronnie gave
yeah.
him a row for
Right.
trying to always silver tongue.
Because he's an old man.
Well, let's think about
And
how
we
old
give old men a pass.
how old is he? Because we've got a revelation that Ed's 59. So if Ed's 59, then this guy's in his late 70s at the earliest.
Right. I don't know.
So what's he doing running a food truck business?
Right. Yeah.
Well, I guess
I
you've
guess-
got to survive, I suppose, but expanding his food truck business
It feels
whilst
like...
in his late 70s.
Yeah. No, he's not what I expected. I expected him to be a Sarge, for one. You know, when somebody is called Sarge, you have a picture of them in your head.
Yeah.
And it's not this skinny short man who's very quiet and takes people's Eccles cakes.
He's quite quiet and I know that he's aggressive. He's also passive aggressive.
He's mostly passive aggressive.
And all of his, sometimes he just comes out and says it, which isn't really passive aggressive, but he is passive aggressive. Mm-hmm. And everything that he says is kind of loaded a little bit. And I kind of assume that he's kind of sly then. And a sly old man. I don't know. I had ideas that he would be a version of Ronnie or a version of Ed, and I don't really see him being much of a version of either of them. Which I guess is fine because it's a character in a soap opera. If you have two characters that are exactly the same, well, you can get rid of one of them. And I kind of wanted them to be fun. Like, Dee Dee was fun.
Well, Dee Dee is fun.
And he's not fun. He's kind of annoying. He annoys me. I think I've decided that he annoys me a little bit.
There are aspects that, like, I totally get about, you know, the fact that he favors one son over the other and he's constantly just on Ed's tits about everything. That to me is not surprising. But just like some of the other things, like he just walks up and takes the Eccles cake.
Yeah.
You know.
Who does that? Nobody
does that. You'd say, "Oh, do you mind?" and then take a big massive bite out of it or something.
Right. Or lick it.
Right. And Shona doesn't know this man from Adam. This man just walks up and takes the Eccles cake that she was about ready to serve her customer. Mm-hmm. I expected her to give him a row.
The old new Shona would have.
Yes.
The new Shona, not so much. They've kind of toned her down a little bit recently. You noticed that?
They have. They have significantly toned her down.
Which I was calling for.
Yeah.
But now that it's happened, I'm like, well, it's
maybe
a little
I
bit
shouldn't
out
have
of
asked for
character
this.
now.
Yeah. Anyway.
Do we think...
That's Sarge.
How's... I know it's the early days, but Ed's visit to the old Gamblers Anonymous, I would hope would be the start of repeated behaviour, and maybe we can draw a line under that part of it, but that kind of feels like it's been dealt with a little bit too quickly,
Yeah.
and the only real victim of this is poor fucking Tony.
Yeah. The family has to find out, and they have to find out in the worst way imaginable for Ed.
Which holiday is coming up, do you think? Christmas? Maybe something at Christmas.
Maybe.
That would be bold of the show, given how poorly they've used the Baileys in the past to give them
Yeah.
some kind of role over Christmas. Would be going from famine to feast.
Yeah. Do you think Sarge likes Joel? I feel like Sarge doesn't like Joel.
I don't like Joel.
He calls him Billy Joel.
Yes.
Which you referenced earlier when we were talking about Noel.
Because it's like a David Bowie thing.
Right.
Do you call him Billy Joel or do you call him Billy Joel?
You call
And
him...
British people do tend to call him Billy Joel.
Yeah, I've noticed British people don't really care what Americans prefer to be called. They're going to call you whatever the fuck they want anyway.
Well, and
Kind of
also,
annoying.
David Bowie's not American.
No, but Billy Joel is.
Well, Billy Joel is certainly, yeah. He's a downtown guy, right?
No, he's... No, you're right. He is a downtown man. That's what I am.
You're thinking of Claudia Schiffer for a second there. She was the uptown.
No, that wasn't Claudia Schiffer. That was Billy Joel's wife. What's her name? Oh, God, what was her name? She was another model, but it wasn't Claudia Schiffer that he was married to.
Wasn't it? Oh,
No,
no.
Claudia Schiffer was married to the magician. What's his name?
David Blaine?
No, David Blaine was in diapers back then. No, the other magician. The one who made the Statue of Liberty disappear.
Paul Daniels? I'm fucking with you. It was David Copperfield.
That's right. Claudia Schiffer
And Claudia
was married
Schiffer was
to
in
David
the
Copperfield.
cover version of Uptown Girl, I think by Westlife. I could be wrong.
Hold on. Hold on.
I honestly don't care.
I need to know what Billy Joel's ex-wife's name is. I used to know it.
Linda Evangelista.
No, it's not Linda Evangelista.
Cindy Crawford.
No.
Christy Brinkley.
That's right. I knew it was one of the Christies. I was thinking Christina Aguilera for some reason, even though she's not a supermodel.
And Billy Joel.
Can you imagine the two of them together?
It's like Neil Diamond being married to Britney Spears. Actually, that might work.
Isn't Neil Diamond gay? No, that's Barry Manilow who's gay.
And that's Liberace that you're thinking of. Anyway, Paul Daniels. Our next storyline. Oh, fucking hell. No refunds, by the way, to anyone who gives us money. No refunds. The next storyline is, can someone deck this prick, please? On Monday, the chat around the breakfast table in the rose gold flat is testicles.
Yes. And Maria is shocked that somebody would say testicle at the table.
Yeah, she's an expert.
She's obviously never had lunch in Montana.
Obviously not. Liam wants to dog school,
In
but
Montana, we eat testicles.
Gary and Maria are firmly against it and tell him to get his arse and his testicles into gear. Meanwhile, Liam is getting more texts about being a clipe. At school, Liam and Dylan are chatting about the latter selling vapes when Mrs. Crawshaw catches him and for some reason gives Dylan a detention, and this is seen by that prick Mason. So later at school, Dylan runs into Liam and is not happy that Liam got him a detention. Suck my balls, says Liam, and wanders off.
Good for him.
Dylan tried to push him back.
Yeah.
And tried to bully him.
Tried to be a
and
tough guy.
And Liam's like, fuck off.
Yeah,
You dick.
seriously, dude.
On
What
way
the
home-
hell, man?
On the way home from school, Mason finds Liam and pretends that they're best pals until he rips Liam's backpack off and throws it on top of a van. He starts with a product patter, saying how Dylan can't shift his product if he's in detention. I'm like, really? We're calling vapes product now?
Right, and
Does he think that he's Breaking Bad here? Does he think he's Walter White?
and vapes he stole from the back of a van. If anything, he's Badger. But even Badger wasn't a bully.
Sell them yourself, says Liam, quite rightly.
Yeah, he's like, why are you... And I was so proud of him for saying that, because we've been saying that for ages.
Right. Mason doesn't take this well and takes a piss out of Liam's dad being dead. He barks at Liam to get his bag back from the top of the van and records him doing it. What a prick. Liam's dad, Liam Sr., was killed in a hit and run by Tony Gordon, Carla's rapist, back in 2008.
Right. Yeah. So the like, haha, your dad's dead is like a new low in all of this. But also the whole go get your backpack is ridiculous because all he had to do was go to the back of the van and step on the bumper and just raise his hand up. I don't understand why he's climbing over the windshield. It's like, what is going on here?
Kids never climbed on a van before.
Obviously
which
not.
is probably a good thing though, right?
No.
Liam gets home in a bit of a state. His trousers are raggedy and his bag is torn. Liam insists he's fine and goes to his room. So Maria and Gary are left to talk about what to do with Liam, and Gary offers to have a word, which he tries to do, but Liam has his earbuds in and doesn't want disturbed. For some reason, he's watching the video that Mason took of him being humiliated. He asks Gary if he ever met his dad. Gary didn't, but reckons his dad would be dead proud of him. Gary is clearly suspicious of this line of questioning, but says nothing.
Right, yeah. So there's a video out on the internet.
And if we've learned nothing else from Coronation Street, every video that's posted online goes viral.
Yes. It's TikTok, motherfucker, to that Mason. Because once Gary sees this, he's going to be flatter than Rana.
Oh, dearie me, it's just the burns are coming left and right here. TikTok, motherfucker, and flatter than Rana.
Flatter
This
than
is why
Rana.
I pay you to do this.
You don't pay me.
Oh, it kind of falls apart then.
You pay me in love, I guess.
Yeah. On Wednesday, Gary gives Liam bus money to go to school, announcing that his favourite sweeties are dolly mixtures. I used to love dolly mixtures.
I have no idea what that is.
He leaves Liam to get on the bus, but when Liam does, he sees all the bullies sitting up the back, which is where bullies sit. So he thinks to himself, fuck this, and jumps off, where he bumps into George, who's already suspicious, and becomes even more so. So later, George finds Liam in the community garden, and the two of them get chatting about school. George explains how his own school days were ruined by a horrible bully called Frank the Wank. George explains that some problems are too big to handle on your own, and it's important to speak up to your parents or the people that you love about that sort of thing, especially if his mum was as lovely as Maria. Am I right? Aye.
It's very interesting. Very interesting that both Liam and George's bullies both have a tie to Sean.
Yes.
Because Sean used to shag Frank the Wank. Let's not forget.
Oh, yes, he did. At the Rose Gold flat, Liam gets in from pretending to be at school. Gary already knows, though, because he's been speaking to George. He's been dogging it. Gary isn't going to ground him because he's a nice guy, but wants to know why he's been bunking school. Anything to do with this Mason character? Liam says that he's mates with Mason now, and Jake backs Liam up, so Gary lets it go, and that's as far as we get with that this week.
Yeah. It's frustrating because you want the kids to speak up.
Right.
And just have this done and over with. Mm-hmm. But also, again, let's not forget, once again, Mason bullying and ripping the backpack and chucking it on the van happened in broad daylight in the middle of the street.
Right outside Liam's house.
Right. So, really, there was nobody on the street to witness this? Nobody saw this.
It's a ghost town when it needs to be. You should know this by now.
So ridiculous.
Apart from when there's parking problems that apparently got fixed.
Yes. And then, it's like, sometimes there are extras and you don't notice them because they're extras. They're just people walking on the street. And then we'll get the woman in a later storyline on her cell phone sitting in a waiting room very obtrusively right in the front of the waiting room while we're trying to watch two other characters behind her have a very serious conversation.
Oh, I didn't notice her.
You didn't?
The only extra that I noticed is the kebab guy.
Oh, and the woman who was shocked. Don't you remember the woman who was shocked in the bistro about a conversation that happens right in front of her? Oh,
yes, she was watching an argument between Toya and Imran, and she kept on glaring at them.
Right, and saying to her friend, can you believe this shit? What is this neighborhood is just really gone downhill.
Yeah, we've not seen her again. Or Fish Guy. It's been probably 2 years since we've seen Fish Guy.
Right. That's why the sea bass is so bad.
Yeah, it's just, I saw something that suggested that this storyline has got a long way to go yet, and seriously,
No.
What
Please
needs to
stop.
happen, and what looks like it has become close to it happening, is Liam takes a swing at Mason and decks him, and then that's the end of the storyline.
Right.
Liam's had a look on him that, even when that knife came out,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been surprised if Liam had taken a swing at him, but then didn't.
But then it isn't.
And
maybe he
because
can-
I've been watching Neighbours recently, Neighbours don't do long burn storylines.
Right.
The story starts on a Monday and it's finished on Thursday.
Right. There's
and-
no slow burn.
And that can be things like kidnapping and drug addiction. It doesn't matter. It can be done and dusted in
That's Australians for
two
you.
or three episodes. So I'm even more chopping at the bit to get this awful bullying stuff dealt with, and
Right.
to be dealt with in a satisfactory manner.
Liam needs to hire Hope. Hope would beat the shit out of that guy.
And if
And then
Hope can't, Hope would
Burn his dolly.
Yeah, she'd tamper with his parents' car or something.
Right. She'd shave his head while he sleeps, which would be an
It
improvement.
would be a vast improvement. Did your mother finish her cornflakes before she cut your hair?
Right.
Etc. Etc.
Yes.
I don't know. I'm kind of glad that George has got involved in it, because George is a nice guy, and
Right.
But I don't know if Liam knows George enough to take his advice as anything more than an old man interfering.
Yeah. Well, they're kind of neighbors, aren't they?
Well, everyone's kind of neighbours, but
That's true.
but
I don't know. George has such a nice, calming voice.
he does.
He's like a big old bear.
And it was a lovely moment between
It really
the two of
was.
them.
It really was.
But I just don't know that it didn't go in one ear and out the other with
Right.
Liam.
Yeah. Where's Roy?
Was Roy in it this week?
No. And yet he gets mentioned a couple of times.
Because everyone wants to be in Roy's good books.
Right.
See, Roy would probably be a good character to have that
Conversation
kind of conversation with him.
Yeah, but we don't know that Roy's been bullied. We assume Roy has been bullied at some point in his life because...
Oh, Roy's been bullied throughout his life. He gets
Roy.
bullied.
Oh, he was
And
bullied by
these
Stu.
days-
Remember when he was bullied by Stu?
Yeah.
And I almost completely went off the Stu character until I got to see his testicles in Ted Lasso. Then I'm like, all right, he's fine.
You saw his actual testicles?
No, it was blurred out.
Okay.
But still,
You can imagine.
all that white hair
Oh,
flowing beautifully from below his trunks. Just flows in the wind.
never seen a sheen on pubic hair before. I think we better move on
We should.
to Drowning Simon's Sorrows. Just some scenes on Monday to fill in time here, I think. At Carla's, Simon is in a foul mood about his vapes being stolen. Peter tries to cheer him up with a kick,
With a kickabout, like he's 12.
with a kickabout down the red wreck, but Simon isn't 10 anymore, and this cuts no cheese for him. Peter, meanwhile, is still struggling, but is deciding to put a brave face on it, because we're not really going to talk about that this week.
No.
Simon's at the bar at the bistro getting pished on Heineken Zero. Leanne is worried about him, but Simon insists that he's 20. It's none of Leanne's business. Leanne says that Carla says that he gets mortal at the flat too while he's playing PlayStation. Simon blows her off and asks for a tab, and then nips off for a shite, allowing Leanne to phone Peter and air her concerns.
And say, take care of your kid.
Peter lands at the bistro to find Simon knocking back the Heineken Zeros like there's no tomorrow. Peter gives Simon a pep talk about getting knocked down and then getting back up again. So Simon takes the alcohol-free lager drink.
And the whiskey drink.
There you go. Peter knows what he's talking about and tells Simon not to waste his life. So at home, Peter and Carl are talking about Simon. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree, she thinks. He thinks it might help to give him more work at the factory, but she says that he was only there as a favour in the first place, and she needs the workforce on her side, which wouldn't be the case with a Nepo promotion.
Right, yeah.
'Cause they're already a bit
They're already
suspicious
complaining
about
about
Simon being there.
nepotism.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious considering how many people related to Carla have worked in that factory.
Well, how everyone's worked at that factory. There's
Right.
a revolving door. Summer used to work there, remember?
Yes. What
Well-
does Summer do now?
She went back to school, didn't she?
I think so.
Yeah.
Not Oxford, though.
She worked at the factory for a week, during which time she was late twice. She asked to leave early and asked for an advance on her wages.
Yeah.
And then she fucked up some fabric as well.
Right. And also probably Carlos T.
Employee of the year.
Employee of the year, indeed.
So that's as far as we get with that. So
yeah. This is like...
they bring Simon back and they give him a vape storyline.
And then now they're implying that he's going to be an alcoholic, just like his dad.
Yep.
And I mean, I get it. It can be hereditary. It can be hereditary, like chemically, like physically, but also it can be hereditary as in nurture and not nature. But you got to have a light hand with this sort of thing when your kid's other parent is an alcoholic, don't you?
Yep.
And this feels a little heavy-handed. And also, Carl is being really mean.
See, I'm thinking that this is a storyline that's not really highlighting Simon's drinking. It's highlighting Carla's meanness. Because that's what we're doing now. We're driving that wedge between Carla and Peter, and we're using anything possible to do it. So Peter's asked Carla for a favour to try and give Simon something else to do.
Her stepson, let's not forget.
And she's nixed it. And when you think he's working with Kirk, it's not like he's on sales.
No.
It's not like he's her personal assistant.
No.
He's working with Kirk.
Right.
He's pretty much bottom of the ladder here.
Right. Yeah.
A promotion would be he becomes Kirk's boss, which
Would be
probably
weird.
doesn't sit very well.
No.
But giving him some more things to do, like
Right. And maybe giving him some more training on some other things so eventually he can move up to sales or something. That does not sound unreasonable to me.
no.
Like he could shadow Michael around
But what
a couple
Simon
days a week.
But what Simon really needed was something of his own,
Right.
like the vape thing.
Right.
But seriously, it was just like one of those pallet things.
Right.
How much money has he really lost in this?
And those can be pricey.
Can they?
Yeah, because they're like, oh, you never know. It could just be full of laptops and iPhones. And it never is. But you're paying like $500 for one of these. It's a scam.
Right.
It's a scam.
So he's been scammed then. Somebody should tell him that, and then he won't feel as bad about it.
No, he would feel worse. And I think Leanne already did say that he's been scammed
Oh, well.
last week. But anyway, at least Leanne feels bad for giving Simon such a hard time.
Yeah.
She's the good mother. Carla's the bad mother.
Our next
And
storyline.
that's stupid.
Our next storyline is racist Kelly no mates. On Monday, it's such a mystery. On Monday,
Why does she have no friends?
in the roles, racist Kelly is taking a personal call, the third of the day apparently, and Shona's not impressed. She takes the phone and reads racist Kelly the riot act, and later it's still tense between the two of them, and racist Kelly does herself no favours when she asks for an early mark so she can get her call centre job. Shona reluctantly agrees when racist Kelly explains how hard it is to juggle two jobs. You want to tell most other people in the street that.
Right, yeah. A couple of whom are holding down 3 jobs.
Later, Shona bumps into racist Kelly in the precinct, all dolled up and nowhere to go, with a hefty carry-out. Racist Kelly claims that her shift got cancelled and she has a friend coming over later. Shona doesn't look like she believes it and warns racist Kelly not to take the piss. So at racist Kelly's, she's dressed up like she's expecting gentleman company, but when there's a knock at the door, it's Daniel.
Boo!
Racist Kelly quickly throws on a dressing gown. Daniel's here for a tuition session, and she invites him in while she goes and puts on one of her many tracksuits and crop tops. So during the lesson, Daniel thinks racist Kelly has been on the sauce as she seems tired and distracted. Maybe you're just very boring, Daniel. He sees a broken glass on the floor, was it? I couldn't really tell. She says that she's just exhausted with her work and her revision. On Wednesday, in the cabin, Max sees racist Kelly reading a magazine and concerned that she doesn't have the money to pay for it, coughs up and pays for it himself. This is a fabulous way to make sure that racist Kelly doesn't read anything into his actions. He mentions in the passing that his watch is knackered.
Huh.
At Nina's rolls later, racist Kelly tells Shona that she and Max are mates again and asks to take a break early. Shona's pissed off about this but agrees when racist Kelly says that she needs to repay a favour. So in the salon later, Racist Kelly has a present for Max to repay him for spending £3 on the magazine. It's a fucking watch.
Why does he need a watch anyway? It's 2023. He's got a phone.
Mm-hmm.
Why does he need a watch? It's not even like an Apple Watch. It's not even like a phone on your wrist. It's just a plain old watch, only it's a really expensive plain old watch.
Mm-hmm.
With like hands and everything.
So Max probably doesn't know how to read it. It's weird.
It's like she doesn't, like there's something missing within her that she doesn't understand. That there's something within her that needs to go bigger than a magazine, but doesn't understand that there's such a thing as too big to make it awkward.
Right. And this is so very awkward. And Max says
So
that he
awkward.
thinks it's too much because it is. But she insists, not thinking that Sabrina will have an issue with it. Max accepts. And Max accepting it doesn't make any sense either. Because she said, I'll pay you back for the magazine. And he says, that's fine, don't worry about it.
Right.
So he didn't even want paid back the £3,
Right.
let alone get a £100 watch or whatever
Well,
it is.
she does say, you know, you wouldn't let me pay you back, so I bought you a present.
Yeah, like
And it's like,
some Dolly mixtures.
right, yeah. Or one of those sherbet UFOs that Brian was trying to fob off.
Mm-hmm. Or one of those phone chargers.
Those we had here.
One of those phone chargers that's the dog, and when you plug it into your phone, it looks like the dog shagging your phone. One of them.
I used to have one of those like cord protectors for my phone that was shaped like a dog, and it looked like the dog was eating.
Oh. Well, this dog's not eating. This dog's getting it on. Anyway, predictably, Sabrina isn't happy when she sees Max's new watch, and when she learns how he got it, she storms off to have it out with Racist Kelly, warning her to keep her fucking mitts off her man. Racist Kelly is in a shiny new purple crop top at this, and she can't understand what the big deal is. It's only an expensive personal gift, for fuck's sake. Sabrina won't be palmed off like this. Shona comes out to see what's what, and Racist Kelly says that she's not trying to split anyone up. She just wants friends. Friends!
I actually did that.
Friends!
I did that upstairs when she said that. I went, friends! What is that even from?
The In-Betweeners. Clearly Sabrina isn't one of them. She
Good.
says,
Something not problematic then.
No, something very problematic.
Well, yeah, that
Yes,
was the
yes.
point
Now that was a joke.
of my sarcasm. Yes. Because it feels problematic while you're saying it.
Have you never seen The In-Betweeners?
I've seen some because you introduced them to Nick.
Yeah.
Thank you so very much. And then Nick started watching them, and we watched the movie.
Oh, the movie's awful.
Remember the In-Betweeners movie?
Which one? There's two of them.
They're both bad.
Yeah.
They're like, it's a modern thing, but it feels like the humor sensibility of a John Hughes film and not one of the good ones.
I think its heart's in the right place.
In its penis?
Or it's two testicles.
Flowing with white hair.
It's such shiny white pubic hair.
So beautiful.
Oh. Maybe she was born with it. In her flat, Racist Kelly's on the phone when Sabrina turns up at her door. She's here to apologise for some reason. What she's no reason to apologise.
No.
Here.
She was absolutely in the right to be upset about some other girl buying a $100 present for her man.
She knows Racist Kelly's trying to change for the better.
Is
Racist
she?
Kelly calls her a patronising cow, but then she realises that this might be why she has problems making friends. Soz, she says. She promises she has no intentions towards Max, and they agree to start again. Sabrina suggests that they get to know each other, which Racist Kelly takes as an invitation to spill her guts about how she's never had any proper mates because her dad wouldn't let her and seemed to offer her up to his pals in that way.
And also, she likes kung fu movies.
Okie dokie, says Sabrina.
As
I
she's-
like basketball.
As she slowly backs away to the door like Homer Simpson backing
the
into a
hedge.
bush.
Well, I shake my fist at a cloud, apparently. Nina's rolls, Brian comes in looking for a scarf that he left earlier. Bernie gets him to count the till to help her out because it's coming up short, and Brian is able to confirm what Bernie suspected. The register is 80 quid light.
And it's so hilarious because earlier in the day when Brian was in the calf and he left the scarf, the camera zoomed in on the scarf and stayed there for like a good 30 seconds.
It wasn't a good 30
And I was
seconds,
like,
it was a second.
Why are we zooming in on the scarf? Who's going to murder someone with Brian's scarf? And then Brian goes to jail for murder because it's his scarf.
Nope.
No, he's just going to come back to count money.
Dum dum
That's
dum.
the only reason why he left his scarf, so that he can count money and so Bernie can realize that the till is off.
Yeah, when the camera did cut to the scarf, I did feel Ian McLeod sitting next to me, nudging me in the ribs. You notice that? Did you see that? Did you notice that? That's going to become important, but not very important. On Friday, Racist Kelly drops in at number 8 to see Max. It's her birthday, and to celebrate, he's going to give her the watch back. Shona's doing the washing and sees this and understands the expense. Max tells her to return it to get her money back, but she dismisses it and heads off to work. Shona and Racist Kelly show up for their shift. Bernie privately explains to Shona about the short till, so Shona has a word, and Racist Kelly plays dumb. She claims that she wouldn't steal from Roy and afforded the watch thanks to the call centre job.
And also...
The call centre job. When Shona has questions because she has a mate who works at the call centre and they're laying folk off, she says it was a rich boyfriend who gave her the money. Shona's not buying it and suspends Racist Kelly on the spot. Racist Kelly cries briefly and says that she thought Shona was different and tells her to shove her fucking job up her arse.
Right up her arse.
And we're meant to care about this. And we're meant to care about all of this, I think. And like we've discussed before,
Right.
we don't care about Racist Kelly because her redemption arc hasn't happened.
It keeps getting interrupted.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's kind of... It worked for me a little bit this week.
Did it?
Yeah.
Ugh, no, not at all for me.
The whole, I have no mates because my dad let his cronies rape me.
Yeah, and also
Kind of
you
worked.
speak to everybody like they're a piece of shit.
Right.
Also that.
Right. But at least, like, she catches herself and she apologizes when she realizes she's doing it this week.
When Max shows up in Nina's rolls later, he's shocked to learn that Racist Kelly has been suspended for stealing money from the till, but no sooner has Shona explained this than she lifts the little drawer thing out of the till and lo and behold, there's 80 quid underneath it. Oopsie daisy.
Oopsie.
So Shona goes round to see Racist Kelly with a birthday card and an apology. She knows the money wasn't stolen, but she knew the watch was expensive, and also Racist Kelly lied about it. But she's no longer suspended, but Racist Kelly can't work for someone who doesn't trust her, and she can shove the job back up her arse again.
Yes.
Back home, Shona blames Max for all this. On her birthday as well, says Max, which just makes matters worse.
Right.
And Max
yeah.
keeps on saying that.
On her birthday.
Shona explains about the new rich boyfriend and reckons that she's making it up. All this unloaded onto Max and Sabrina. Shona fucks off back to work.
And this was hilarious because Max and Sabrina are just sitting there.
Minding their own.
Just sitting there, and you see them watch Shona speak, but they say nothing until she leaves. And then there's like half a second where they're still just kind of in stunned silence about all of this.
And Max says, I think we should maybe do something. And Sabrina says,
About what?
And Max says, about Racist Kelly. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
So the two of them go round to see Racist Kelly with cider and cake. Max asks about the new boyfriend, but apparently he's busy today. Racist Kelly pretends to be happy and grabs some glasses. And they all get hammered and Max pukes his ring and then clears it up. Lovely stuff.
Yeah. And they play Operation.
Sabrina and Max leave and Racist Kelly's happy that she has friends over for her birthday. And that's all that happens in that.
Yeah. I like Sabrina's hair blue. I think that's a good color for her.
It is a good colour for her. It's just
She
good
looks
to see her
gorgeous.
again.
Yeah, it's good to see her, and she's looking gorgeous. I'm so glad. I'm so glad that we solved racism with a black girlfriend.
Yes, we did.
But at least she's someone that we like, and really does not take any shit from Max. which is good.
Yes. That's
And we got
exactly
to
what Max
see-
needs.
And we got to see Gav last week. So we get to see both of them. Mm-hmm. One week and one the other week. Yay! We love Gav. We love Gav so much.
I quite like him.
He's like the best person to have your name on television. Because typically Gavins are assholes.
Gavs are pricks.
Gavs are assholes.
And in real life,
Like Gavin DeGraw.
I still don't know who that is.
Oh.
I'm still kind of struggling with this determination by the show to make me feel sympathy towards racist Kelly despite it not being earned.
Right.
They kind of came the closest when she admitted to Roy after she tried to come on to Roy.
Right.
She was an interesting character at that point where
Right.
she had this this weird background and a weird upbringing
Right.
and this weird story. And I don't think they've entirely forgotten about it, but it's never really got to that level again.
Well, it kind of does this week when she like admits it to Sabrina.
Well, after you see her all dressed up and talking about and waiting for somebody, and clearly waiting for somebody,
Right.
and you kind of think, well, she's...
And she's in a negligee and she's got wine glasses.
Yeah, she seems to be entertaining,
Right.
shall we say, possibly for money.
Right. And yeah, it doesn't feel like she's entertaining because she wants to be entertaining.
No, she's never really been looking forward to it, but she's got bills to pay.
Right.
And Ryan's not there anymore.
Right. Conveniently, because if Ryan was there, this couldn't happen.
And even though this is a nasty bit to the story, not through her fault, but I kind of... Is sordid the right word?
Yes.
So the sordid nature of it should be generating some sympathy, especially with one so young.
And yet it's off-putting.
But I just don't think, because they haven't really dealt with the whole racist Kelly thing, I don't think it's resonating as much as it probably should, and I don't think it's generating as much sympathy as it probably should. Mm-hmm. And I think given our friends in Max and Sabrina feels more like they're just paping over that crack now,
right.
and hoping that we never think
forget
about
about
it
it.
again.
Right. Like
The-
the
the-
fact that Todd and Paul are friends.
Right, this is now dealt with.
Yeah.
That's it. And that feels unfortunate because they put so much effort into the storyline at the front end, which feels a kind of typical thing to do, and then not putting the effort on the back end
Yeah.
to make it all make sense again.
It does feel like we're getting some effort though, because we've come a little step further about these mysterious phone calls she's been getting.
Right.
You know, so it feels like this is moving in a direction that is supposed to fill out her storyline a little bit better, make her more three-dimensional, make her more sympathetic.
Mm-hmm.
So, and maybe through that, we'll somehow get some resolution out of all of this.
Yeah, I hope so. I think she's a good actress, so I'd like to have a reason to like her and to feel sympathy for her. Moving on, our next storyline is Isla Be Getting in the way. On Wednesday at Dev's, Asha wants to go to a drag show tonight, but Nina already has plans with her college mates. Asha gently teases Nina about this. What have her college mates got that she doesn't have? Nina offers to cancel, but Asha insists that she goes and has a great time, and both of them are scunnered by each other's reaction. In Nina's roles, Nina meets up with Asha and says that she's been thinking about it. She's been spending too much time with her mates, so she suggests that she goes out with Asha tonight after all. But Asha has already made other plans and will be revising with Isla, so that's that fucked. And Nina and Asha are as miserable as they were earlier on. So Nina stumbles home at night, surprised to see Asha home. Nina tells tales of her night of drinking and curry, but secretly she gets a text from College Gang apologising for bailing early on her. Asha invites her out with her and Isla for lunch tomorrow, promises not to make it all paramedic chat, and Nina agrees.
They are legion.
Did that just look
The
like
college gang.
a regular text message?
No.
Is that a WhatsApp group? Is that what that was?
Why would the whole gang be apologizing as one entity.
Because they are legion. They are many.
They are legion. Just a whole bunch of demons infected Nina's head.
College gang.
College gang.
Hi, gang,
Hi, Nina.
says all of them in unison.
How much effort does it take to just throw a name on there and said, hey,
Bruce. This is what Bruce said.
yeah, hey, everybody's really sorry that we had to leave. You know, or like a number of texts from different people.
Nope. Just one from college gang.
It's so bad. It's so bad.
On Friday at Dev's shop, he's dressed as an elf in an attempt to get more customers through the door.
And he's sitting on a shelf.
Nina and Asha are preparing for a bistro lunch with Isla. Miles will be there too. Who the fuck is Miles?
Another paramedic?
At speed dial. At speed dial? At speed dial. That's what they're going for as well.
It
At
is.
speed dial, Isla and Miles are talking about cadavers with Asha. Nina's running late,
Fun!
and Asha bums Nina up to Miles, saying that she works in fashion design. And at this, Nina comes in and contradicts Asha by saying that she works in a cafe. Asha is not pleased by this, and Asha admits to exaggerating, but Nina seems to take this as meaning that Asha is ashamed of her and makes her excuses and leaves. She's actually quite chatty and quite charming, I think, to Miles and Isla, but the fact that she's
Right.
left early makes them raise their eyebrows and, oh,
Well, the
who's
fact
this?
that, you know, she gets there and she sits down and it seems like everything's going to be fine. And then all of a sudden she realizes that Asha has pretended she's a fashion designer.
Which she is.
But
she
she's
has,
not.
She has worked at that.
She has, but she's not doing it now. You know, and she's exactly right. Asha doesn't want to say she works in a cafe sort of thing. You know, she is kind of embarrassed by that because here Miles has just talked about how important their work is. That, you know, even that there are some days that are good days where you don't have to see a cadaver.
But Asha is essentially in training. She's a student. Nina is also a student. She's at college doing fashion. So why Asha can't say she's a student in fashion, but she's
Right.
had some success doing some designs for the factory or whatever.
Right, yeah.
I mean, it was a pointless lie when the truth
really was.
could easily be delivered and be
Yeah.
just as impressive.
Did she think Nina was going to back up her lie?
Right, exactly.
That doesn't make any sense.
Strange thing to do. So back home, Asha apologises and Nina explains how that made her feel. Asha says she didn't want to sound like they were kids. Nina thinks this was all an attempt
You are kids!
to impress Isla, who she clearly fancies. So Asha finds Nina at the cafe and promises to only socialise with Isla at work. She doesn't want anything to come between them. And this quickly descends into Asha accusing Nina of not trusting her. Well, you tell lies, says Nina. But she says that she does trust Asha and they agree to forget about it, so nothing is resolved. They brush it under the carpet, pretend
Yep.
that it never happened.
That's right.
And this is all just going to continue. And it's,
Yep. And it's going to get worse.
we talk about the wedges that the show's trying to push between Carla and Peter,
Yep.
and how it kind of started to do the same for Steve and Tracy.
Yep.
And now it's doing it for Asha and Nina.
Yep.
And I don't know that I care about this because they were lovely together to start with, but they've never really shown that same level of compatibility as they did
In the very
at the
beginning.
start, because
Yeah.
we never saw them for forever.
Right.
You never saw them together forever.
Right. And then you kind of started to.
And when we started to, this happened.
Yeah. No. Well, it started to happen during other people's storylines because let's remember, it was these two who started to call Amy Ames.
Oh, it was Summer that did that, wasn't it?
No, it was Asha.
I don't think it was Summer.
But they have also called her Ames.
They have.
I can't say it without laughing because
awful.
it's such a terrible nickname. You've made a 3-letter word a 4-letter word.
Mm-hmm.
That's not how nicknames are supposed to work. Unless you're Jake's, I guess.
Poor Jakes. it feels to me Nina ran into the canal, bashed her head. Then we didn't see them together for the longest time. And now we do see them together and they don't get on. I don't know that there's that much stakes involved in this. There's stakes for Peter and Carla because they're married, right?
Right.
And also because they're each other's lobster.
Right.
I don't feel that Nina and Asha are each other's lobster.
No. You know, it's not.
Steve and Tracy are kind of each other's lobster as well.
Yes. They
Asha,
wear
Nina-
matching onesies.
Asha and Nina,
We've never seen them in matching onesies.
nah.
No. I don't. And, you know, as much as I love the lesbians, and I do, the relationship did kind of feel a little tacked on when it started, didn't it?
It did a little bit.
And maybe a little too soon after Seb.
Especially given that Asha's boyfriend was
The one
the guy
who murdered him.
Right.
Yeah. There is an aspect of their relationship that feels very similar to the Ryan Daisy thing, where there's like shared trauma by this horrible person who messed up both of their lives in different ways.
Well, Asha kind of had the crush.
Yeah.
And Nina thought, in for a penny.
Right. But
I
then,
was, let's give this a shot and see where it goes. More out
Right.
of curiosity than anything else.
yeah.
Nina really deserves to have someone more interesting than Asha, really.
No
And
offense to Asha.
No offense to Asha. I like Asha. I like
Uh-huh.
Asha as a character. I don't know that the two of them make each other better.
No.
And this the way this is played out this week is the two of them have been doing their damnedest to prove that they're not jealous of each other.
Right. They don't care.
And it's just a kind of childish...
Right. Yeah. I was kind of surprised that Nina was still doing I'm just going to go hang out with my college mates sort of thing.
Mhm.
And I also don't like the fact that they kind of make it seem like hanging out with your college mates is not a good thing. It's a bad thing. You know, like, you go out with your college friends and get all drunk and stuff and then come stumbling home at 2:00 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't owe you anything, Asha.
No. Because when you're not home, she's stuck with your dad.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes he brings out the elf costume. It's exhausting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like before, if they're going to break them up, just break them up.
Yeah.
But I don't know that I care if they stay together or not. It kind of feels a little bit like Adam and Sarah. I wanted Adam and Sarah to stay together, and then for the longest time, I really didn't care one way or the other.
Right.
And then at the end, I was kind of rooting for them a little bit.
Yeah.
But here, I thought they were kind of cute together when it started.
Right.
It was nice to introduce a lesbian couple, just for the sake of it, just to tick a box. It's
And
kind of
like, well, they're both bisexual.
I guess.
We shouldn't be calling them lesbians because they're clearly bisexual, and there's enough bisexual erasure out there. But yeah, the way that the way that it started, it just, I don't know. It felt like, well, we've run out of young men. What are we going to do with these two now?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, forget them. Give Mary a happy, healthy relationship. Damn it.
Right.
That's what this show is about. This show is about middle-aged women and the gays, not teenage lesbians.
And not bullies.
No. Whether or not they're lesbians or not.
Exactly. And that Miles guy was an asshole.
He kind of was.
All right, moving on. Our next storyline is
He was very hungry.
Crystal, Decanter and glasses. On Friday, Crystal is at the bistro saying things to Ryan that I don't understand. It seems to be of a romantic nature because they kiss and arrange to meet up later. Leanne is happy to see Ryan happy. He says it's early days. His scar's looking like it's healed quite a bit since we last saw him.
Absolutely.
And the last time we
It
saw
looks
him
like cellophane.
injecting steroids up his arsehole.
Yes.
Leanne lets him go early ahead of getting his hole off of Crystal when he gets a mysterious call that piques his interest.
Yeah.
And later he's still at the bistro. Crystal had a job, so he's running late. Ryan explains to Leanne that the relationship is complicated. It's got more complicated because he got a job offer earlier in a gym chain thanks to his videos. They want him to run their social media. They've seen his videos where he wanked off?
No. The workout videos.
Oh, okay.
The wanking videos, you have to pay for those.
Let's hope they're talking about the workout videos, because
They're a gym.
seeing Ryan wank off isn't going to make me go and do 50 reps.
Well, it depends what you're repping.
I guess so. Okay, now I'm interested. And that's as far as I get with that.
Right. And isn't the job, well, it's a social media job.
He's to manage their social media.
Right. Yeah. And also, isn't the gym in Manchester?
Was it?
Which is just like basically
That's where
where
they
they
are.
are. I was really confused by that because he started to sound like he has to leave to do this. And it's like, you don't even have to leave your house to be a social media manager, my friend.
I don't know if they said where it was, but either way, okay, fine.
Right.
We've filled Friday's episode to it's 44 minutes long.
Well, this is going to be obviously going to become a larger thing when
Right.
Daisy finds out he might be moving away and freaks out and tries to get him to stay.
Right.
And then Daniel finds out and kills him.
And then Crystal says something that I don't understand. Maybe she's happy, maybe she's not.
Right.
Who
After
knows?
Daniel murders Ryan.
Still not sure why I can't understand that accent.
I really don't know why, because I can understand her perfectly.
Is it the pitch of her voice?
I don't know.
Maybe she's just tuning exactly into my tinnitus. Who knows?
Well, it's like at this point when I watch people with British or Irish accents, they sound American to me now. Everybody sounds American to me now because I'm just used to hearing so many different accents. It all just kind of, my brain just filters everything into American.
Right.
Which is especially confusing with Irish people. Because remember your little YouTube Irish man who talks about murder?
That chapter, yes.
Yes. I was insistent that he was an American.
He isn't.
He's not. He's Irish. Maybe he's Noel.
Oh. So he should be running this gym's social media.
Maybe.
Because that guy's a YouTube legend.
Yes.
All right, let's move on to our final storyline tonight, which is Merry Fake Christmas, everybody. On
Or
Monday,
not.
Gemma is popping her happy pills, getting ready for the big shop for the fake Christmas next week. I thought it was next week. It's not. It's this week. Chesney's worried how they will afford 2 Christmases. Paul is dying.
Shut up, Chesney.
He leaves and Joseph comes down the stairs complaining of feeling sick again, and Gemma is unsure what to do now. So Gemma meets up with Bernie in the bistro, who is thinking about getting Paul an air horn for Christmas. Gemma, though, is still worried about Joseph and resolves to ring Ches about it, but when she looks at her phone, she's missing calls from him and the school. How very fucking hell. Back home, Chesney has brought Joseph out of school, reckoning it's a virus, and a bit pissed off at Gemma for sending him to school in the first place,
Shut up, Chesney.
because he had to go and pick him up, and he's lost hours at the kebab shop.
Shut up, Chesney.
He only objects keeping him home when there's fuck all wrong with him. Gemma reckons that she's the worst mum. She can't do right for doing wrong. Chesney doesn't reckon her happy pills are doing the job because Gemma isn't particularly happy. Seems he's been telling nurses and people at school that Gemma isn't coping well at the moment, what with everything that's on her plate. Gemma is fucking furious
As she should
and
be.
storms out. So Paul and Gemma go to see Chesney later and they assess how everything is fucked up for everyone. Joseph's ill, says Bernie, and Gemma isn't going mad for believing him. Chesney is still worried that Gemma can't cope, so Bernie promises to have a word. So Paul and Bernie find Gemma in Nina's rolls. Paul insists that she looks after herself, and Bernie suggests meditation. Paul says Joseph and the quads are going to be fine, and he advises that she listens to the doctors and nurses. So back home, Gemma is meditating, which means she's going, Joseph is feeling better, he says, which allows Chesney to have a go at Gemma for getting it wrong again.
Right, and for humming.
Gemma looks on at Joseph with concern while Chesney goes for a bath to try and get the kebab reek out of his skin. This is a thing that we need to remember. See, every time Chesney's been an asshole to Gemma, as he's doing it, he's stinking of kebabs. The man is constant. He's just like a walking clove of garlic.
And also, she ran him a bath before he even got there Because she's like, oh, there's a bath run. You can go get in it.
So there's
It's like, wait a second.
there's lots of cold water upstairs
There's
for
tepid
you.
water upstairs that I'm assuming Gemma had run for herself for after the meditation, but she's letting Chesney sit in the tepid water instead because she's a nice person.
In the hope that he'll fucking drown. On Wednesday, Gemma was preparing for Friday's early Christmas by using Chesney's decorations that he got cheap at the market. She thinks Joseph is still under the weather, but Chesney is sick to his tits about talk of Joseph being ill. Later, Gemma and Bernie are chatting about Paul and Christmas and Joseph. Gemma is worried about it all, particularly Joseph, who isn't sleeping. Bernie recommends lavender and directs her to a box that she brought over yesterday, giving her instructions on how to infuse it. Tastes like shite, but works like a charm.
Infuse. Let's all remember that.
So Joseph is on the couch later when Gemma gives him one of Bernie's lavender teas. Joseph takes a sip and throws it down. He can't stand it, but I think we've presumed that he finishes it.
Well, no, he takes one sip and he puts it down and he can't drink anymore. And also, nobody has infused anything. She's just put 5 drops in something. 5 drops.
Later,
Let's remember, 5.
Chesney picks up a horrid pink Christmas tree.
I love it.
Gemma can't believe that they got it so cheap.
I want it.
She enthusiastically starts to decorate it when Joseph comes down the stairs. He's puked up all over his bed and complains about his stomach, and then he collapses, dead.
Lots of puking this week.
After the break, he's not dead anymore, but he's still complaining about his stomach. Chesney's on the phone for an ambulance while Gemma usefully mops Joseph's brow, deciding that he's clammy. This is the worst he's been in a while, and Joseph pukes in a basin. Lovely stuff. So at the hospital, Ches is made of apologies. Why didn't he fucking listen to Gemma when he had the chance? Gemma tells him not to blame himself, and Joseph is getting the attention that he needs. So Bernie arrives just as the doctor comes to announce the results of the tests. Joseph has been poisoned.
Dum dum dum.
But they can't tell by what or when, but the doc thinks it must have been something drunk rather than eaten. Gemma remembers a lavender drink. Bernie points out that it's a natural product and fucks off home to bring the box for the doc to have a look at. While they wait, Gemma and Chesney talk about ignoring the signs, and Chesney still beating himself up in the face with a brick about it.
Nice.
When Bernie comes back with the lavender stuff, Gemma realises that it wasn't what she gave Joseph. She's brought in tea, and Gemma gave him the oil and hot water. Chesney rushes off to tell the doctor that Joseph has ingested essential oils by mistake.
Instead of tea.
And Gemma's devastated. He took one sip of it.
Right. And there were 5 drops in a big massive cup. But also, this is Gemma. Gemma knows what tea looks like.
She does.
And she's also Bernie's child. So she's been used to lots of crystals and herbs and shit her whole life.
Right.
You're telling me that the daughter of Bernie Winter doesn't know the difference between tea and essential oils?
She's very tired.
Still.
So now it's her turn to beat herself up. The doc is happy now they can treat it, and they reckon that Joseph will be fine. Gemma apologises to Chesney, but he wants to go and get fresh air to get away from her. She insists it was an accident, but Chesney doesn't seem to believe her. And when he realises how his stupid face must look, and remember, he's thinking of kebabs at this.
And he does have a stupid face.
He backtracks, blames his reaction on him being tired. He thinks she poisoned him on purpose. He calls her paranoid, and she's about to storm off at this when a nurse tells him that they can go and sit with Joseph. So they sit with him for a while, and a doctor comes to tell him that he'll be staying in overnight because they want to know exactly how this poisoning happened, and they're concerned that they have quads at home and drank stuff that should have been kept safe. Chesney, for one, stands up for Gemma, calling it a mistake and not something that generally happens.
Right, yeah.
The doctor apologises and insists that Joseph is his priority. So the doctor goes, leaving Gemma as distraught as ever. Chesney insists that he thinks that she's a great mum, but outside the doctor is speaking with a social worker, explaining that Gemma
That's the one
is the
right
one who
there.
poisoned Joseph, and the woman asks to see dates and times. So on Friday, Joseph is still waiting to be discharged. Ches wants to get home to get the early Christmas organised, but Gemma's heart's not really in it anymore. Ches talks around just as Joseph wakes up, feeling better and keen to get to the early Christmas. so Gemma leaves them both to get the wheels in motion for that. Paul and Billy are ready for their early Christmas by getting fucked on eggnog.
And also, Billy is wearing a Happy Birthday Jesus sweater.
Yes, he is.
So perfect. I love that sweater.
And in his roles, Gemma is still worried that Joseph is sick for other reasons, but Bernie thinks the doctors would have picked up on it by now. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Joseph and Ches are ready to leave when the doctor and Caitlin from the child protection team show up. She was the woman from yesterday. She has concerns about the number of times Gemma has brought random children into the hospital. Ches says Gemma is a wonderful mum, and that Bertie thing was ages ago, and that time Gemma put one of the quads in the washing machine was a hallucination, and that didn't even happen.
Shut up, Chesney.
Yeah, shut up, Chesney. Fucking hell. So, she's brought Joseph into the hospital
A couple of times.
3 times now, I think.
Yeah.
There was once that we didn't see,
Right.
and there was once that we did see,
Right.
and now there's this.
Yeah.
And then Bertie, months ago.
Right. And that's it.
So this feels like
Nothing.
a bit heavy-handed by the hospital here.
Just a wee bit. And also, like, we don't hear this happen. And this is one of those frustrating things that keeps happening on the show where people explain themselves poorly by just saying things like, no, she's a good mom. She would never do that. Instead of saying, look, her mom recommended lavender. It was in a box with the essential oils. They both said lavender on them. She just accidentally picked up the wrong thing.
Right.
If you explained it like that, there would be no problem.
Right. At the quad house, Christmas has come early when Paul and Billy arrive. The place looks like an elf sweatshop. Dev turns up in his elf suit and doesn't explain that he was already dressed like that in another storyline anyway. And there's an accident with a tree that didn't spot, which Dev and Billy quickly fix.
Right, yes. One of the quads, because Dev tosses a ball, an elf ball, at one of the quads. And then one of the quads lobs it at Bernie's head. Bernie freaks out and she falls over the tree because if there's one thing this show loves, it's women of a certain age under a tree.
Was Rita there? Was she under the tree? I hope so.
No, it's just Bernie this
Tree
time.
fixed, then everyone seems to be having fun in a Dickensian sort of way. Paul has lovely memories of Christmas and resolves to make more today. Good luck with that.
Yeah, seriously.
Bernie has a special present for Paul to remind him of his worst Christmas when he didn't get a must-have toy. It's a techno robot dog from 2019. Paul is made up. The adults are pulling crackers later while the kids are crawling around unsupervised, sticking forks into power outlets.
But at least there's 4 of them this time.
Gemma tells a joke, so Paul laughs, which can be recorded for his book thing. And it wasn't a funny joke. Chesney and Joseph finally get home, not exactly looking to be in the party spirit, and they've brought child protection with them. She had questions for Gemma and Joseph. So Gemma takes Joseph and this Caitlin woman to Billy's, and maybe they'll finish the tiling in the kitchen while they're at it. At Billy's, Gemma explains that she's never deliberately hurt any child, which kind of suggests that she's accidentally done it a lot.
Right, yeah. And again, without very specifically explaining what happened.
Right. But Caitlin suggests that she deliberately poisoned Joseph to prove that the doctors were wrong. Gemma rejects this and is shocked by the insinuation, and she wants to know who's accused her. Caitlin says her number one priority is Joseph, and this sort of thing does happen. And again, by asking who's accused her, it makes her sound guilty.
Right.
At the quad house, no one is in the mood for celebrating while Gemma is away. Dev suggests a game of charades or maybe getting leathered. Bernie is shocked that he still wants to continue the Christmas thing and wonders if things could be worse. And then she remembers she's going to jail tomorrow. Speaking with Chesney and Joseph, Caitlin recommends that Gemma leaves the family home while the investigation continues, and any contact that she has with the kids is going to have to be supervised. Gemma's furious, but Caitlin says that if she doesn't comply, then the kids will go into care. I thought, holy shit, this is going from 0 to 100 really quick, hasn't it?
Just a wee bit. And also, she has interviewed Gemma. She has interviewed Joseph.
And Jake. And Jack.
And Jacob.
And Jeremy. Jeremy? That's
Jeremy.
not even a name.
She's interviewed them both.
Yes.
She has the reports from the hospital. What more does she need? That she has to separate this family longer when she is aware that her brother is dying. It's like that judge all over again. Why does the show hate this family?
Right.
Why?
Right.
What is wrong here? Why? There's no reason why.
It's when we talk about characters who continually have misery piled upon them, like Summer did
Right.
last year or earlier this year.
And Amy every other week.
And Amy continually. It feels like it's nothing compared to what Gemma has to go through.
Right. And the whole family.
It's constant.
It is.
So I posted on Twitter, next week on Coronation Street, the show just leaves Gemma the fuck alone for once.
Right.
But that's not going to happen because
No.
Bernie's going to go to jail next week.
And Paul will eventually
we assume,
die.
And Paul's going to die.
Right. And Gemma can't see her kids.
Jesus. So Gemma calms down, moves in with Billy and Paul and Summer. Joseph is worried that he'll go into care, but Chesney says that he'll sort it all out. Joseph worries it's all his fault, but Gemma says it's down to her. Chesney says it's not Gemma's fault, but notably, he doesn't take responsibility.
Nope.
Back at the quad house, Caitlin explains the lay of the land, and then the cheeky shit goes and makes herself a cup of tea in the house.
Yeah, she's like, I'm just gonna go make a cup of and clang pots around really loudly in the kitchen.
Yeah, well, try
while
not to-
you get to say your goodbyes.
Try not to poison yourself, you bitch. Bernie is furious, but Chesney suggests that they let the social services do their job and then they can all get back to normal, and Gemma agrees. Billy says Gemma can stay at theirs, which is just as well because Gemma's already moved her stuff in. Later, Bernie thinks this has been the worst fake Christmas ever. Chesney thinks they always come through hard times stronger, which seems to be wishful thinking. Paul does his best to cheer his mum up, and Dev gives her a big sloppy kiss in the cheek. And Bernie smiles.
Yeah.
And so everyone smiles.
Paul is a dick telling his mother to smile. Fuck you, Paul. You're dying and your sister is losing her kids and your mom's going to jail tomorrow.
Yeah.
She has nothing to smile about.
Right.
It's like you're saying to your mom, smile. You're prettier when you smile. And I don't care if you are dying. You never say that to a woman. How dare you, Paul? How very dare you?
At the God flat, Gemma lies out on the couch, looks at her orange wedding photographs, distraught at the possibility of not getting to see the kids. And that's how we end this week's episodes.
And Paul offers to let her sleep with him and put Billy on the couch, which is just so funny.
And God, I was like so pleased when that turned out not to be a thing, because next, you know, the social worker's going to find out that Gemma's been sleeping with her brother.
That's not. No, that's.
I know it's fine.
It's fine.
But the way that the social worker is going to hear that is not going to be fine.
It was a very sweet gesture, but it was nice that, you know, she said, you know, I already can't sleep with my husband now, so I don't want to break up your couple, your happy family either. But it was just, yeah, leave these people alone. Leave these people alone.
I mean, I guess the social work do get involved when things like this happen. And investigations like this probably do happen. I don't think that they happen with the amount of interaction that this family has had with the hospital recently.
Right.
But I guess it does happen.
Right. But when explained correctly about how such an accident can happen, and also this is the only time that they have any idea that Gemma may have possibly medicated this child.
Mm-hmm.
And that doctor that they had this time around had no idea that Gemma had brought Joseph in before. You know, Gemma kind of steps in it by saying, well, at least now you guys are doing something about this. This has been going on for a while. And the doctor's like, what are you talking about? And that's when he looks it up and it's like, oh, maybe this woman is poisoning this child on purpose. But Bernie brings in the tea. They explain he wasn't feeling well, so I was supposed to give him this, but I accidentally gave him that. It was a easy mix-up.
And plus, it was one sip of 5 drops in the big mug.
Right. Yeah. And he's fine now.
He did briefly die, though.
That was weird. When he just kind of collapses and doesn't
Loses
respond
consciousness.
very quickly.
Bless his heart. I do love Joseph.
It just falls back.
Just so sick of having Chesney as a dad. The smell of garlic is just unbelievable. But hopefully this social worker is going to speak to one of Joseph's teachers.
Right.
Because they sent him home.
Right. Because he wasn't, a number of times. Because he wasn't feeling well. And speak to other people who know that Gemma is a good mom and would never poison her child. She spoke to Joseph. Doesn't she? I would assume that if Joseph is telling basically the same story that Gemma's telling, then it proves she didn't do it on purpose.
But it's a weird kind of thing for the for the show to insist that the hospital's stance is this, that if you're not satisfied with the care that your child has got,
right,
don't make too much of a big deal about it.
Or
and
we're
don't bring
going
them
to
back,
send child services at
or we'll
you.
take that child off you.
Right. Yeah.
That's a really weird position to take.
Right. But, again, it's kind of like that judge for Bernie, who's like, I'm aware you're dying, sir, and may not even have 6 weeks, much less 6 months to live. But I'm still throwing your mom down for this essentially victimless crime.
For taking money off Big Garth in public.
Right, yes.
But remember, the nurse had a problem when Joseph was taken into the hospital the first time.
Yeah.
Because she had a go at Chesney about it. We're very busy.
Right, yeah. Fuck you, you're poor. We don't want to see your kid. And also, think about how many times Summer has been in the hospital.
All of them are in the hospital.
The past year. About things going wrong with her diabetes. If any child should be taken off their parent, it's Summer.
Yeah, she fainted 4 times and went to hospital each time, I think.
Right, every single time. Somebody needs to look into Billy.
Yeah. Do you think Dev's going to wear his elf outfit forever now?
No.
I think the glasses make it.
It's going to come back at Christmas time, though.
Yeah.
It's the makeup that kind of confuses me more than anything. Why is he wearing makeup to be an elf?
Well, he's wee rosy cheeks. Elves have got to have rosy cheeks.
Yeah. It's not the rosy cheeks I'm questioning.
What on earth are you insinuating?
Let's wrap this up.
And that was the week that was Coronation Street then.
Ugh.
Tell me, Helen, what was your moment of the week?
I kind of feel like it's George and Liam.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think so too. I thought it was a lovely scene.
Right.
And it was nice to see the two of them together for a change. And George just speaks to the kid so well. And it's obvious what he's doing.
Right.
But he still does it in a really nice way.
Yeah. Yeah. He doesn't talk down to Liam. He apologizes, for being presumptuous and talking to him about this. It's almost a grown-up conversation between the two of them.
Yep.
I think George handles himself very well. And I think Liam has been, I hate the storyline so much, but I think out of all of the kids, Liam has been the best as far as processing it in a way. And I know it's not easy to process these things as a child actor.
Right.
I think he's been doing a very good job.
I think so too. And I think this is really the first main storyline that he's been given. He had that asthma thing, but that was really more a Maria story than it was a Liam story, funnily enough. But I think he's doing a good job with a bad storyline.
Yes. Yeah.
That is our
moment of the week.
Moment of the week.
And your boring moment of the
Brian
week.
Scarf.
The zooming in on Brian Scarf is our
boring moment of the week.
What's your score out of 10 this week? It was
better than last week.
Absolutely, I agree.
It's still got the stupid bullying storyline, though, and also just this constant, just hammering of the Winter family for no reason.
The Winter Browns.
Yeah.
Which sounds like diarrhea in December.
In the snow.
Yes.
It's when you poop in the snow. But But Paul and Bernie are just Winters.
Yeah.
So that's why I say Winters. Because nobody cares about Chesney. But yeah, I just maybe a 5.
Yeah, I'm thinking a 5 as well.
Yeah.
Kind of down the line. There's some good stuff in it, but
yeah,
a lot of storylines that I don't care about or actively hate.
Yes.
So I think at 5, it's doing quite well. This episode was brought to you with thanks to our friends of the podcast.
So
Daisy,
many.
French Helen, Pickles, DT, Trisha, Wendy, Noel, Canadian Helen and Christy. If you've ever lost your scarf in a cafe, write in to let us know about it. We're the talk of the street at gmail.com and we're at Corrie Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Threads and Blue Sky. You can shout me and Helen a coffee or become a friend of the podcast by heading to ko-fi.com, that's ko-fi.com/the talk of the street. Check out the clicky section of boggle.co.uk for links to our merch from YouTube channel. And if you're something, please leave a rating and a review on the iTunes or your podcast provider of choice. And be sure to check out our pop culture sister podcast, The List of Lists.
Yay.
Thanks for making it to the end of another episode. And we will be back next week with more
Talk of the street.
The Talk of the Street.
Bye.
Cheerio.